York State passed a law which is the model the rest of the country should be following.
After years of back and forth, stalled attempts, New York legalizing the recreational use of cannabis, becoming the 15th state to do so. But the new law is raising many questions here in the Southern Tier. Tonight, we get some answers as we look at the highs and lows of legalizing marijuana.
Good evening and welcome to our special town hall discussion on legalizing marijuana. I'm Zach Wheeler. We are coming to you live from the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira this evening, and we've gathered a panel of industry and community leaders to discuss the ramifications and the implications of legalizing marijuana, the highs and lows. Let's take a look at where we are today when it comes to this new law that is now legal in New York.
We have passed the point of legalized cannabis. It's in New Jersey. It's in Massachusetts. To say we're going to stop it is not an option.
On March 31st of this year, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a bill legalizing recreational marijuana for adults 21 and older, a move supporters say could create a potential $4.2 billion cannabis industry, which, if true, would be one of the nation's largest commercial markets. Critics say the money is all a smokescreen, that this will lead to higher addiction rates, higher crime rates, and a high cost to New Yorkers. What does this new law mean for you? New Yorkers who are 21 and older can now legally possess and use up to 3 ounces of marijuana for recreational use and up to 24 grams of concentrated cannabis. Additionally, up to 5 pounds of marijuana can be kept at home if secured properly, and New Yorkers can cultivate up to 6 plants at home, indoors or outdoors, with a maximum of 12 plants per household. Smoking cannabis will not be allowed in schools, workplaces, or inside a vehicle, and smoking publicly where it's not permitted will subject you to a civil penalty of fines or up to 20 hours of community service. And keep in mind, it remains illegal on a federal level.
And of course, the federal government looking to move forward with approving that soon, as we are learning. We welcome our first panel this evening, Chemung County Executive Christopher Moss, Chemung County Sheriff William Schramm, Steuben County Sheriff James Allard, and Steuben County District Attorney Brooks Baker, and Mikkel Fontaine, citizens here in the city. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. Just a reminder to our viewers at home that we are all vaccinated for COVID-19, so we want to make sure that you knew that because it's an important fact. There was an article that came out today in the Bloomberg law that said that New York's new law legalizing cannabis for adult use is arguably the most progressive in the nation. Is it a progressive law at all?
Well, I think it was a money grab. I mean, look, out of Albany, they're going to gain $350 million from what they've done. I think it's a bad decision. You don't have to look any further than the state of Colorado, which decriminalized marijuana and made recreational marijuana legal 7 years ago. They've seen an increase in marijuana-related traffic deaths. They've seen an increase in just regular traffic deaths. They've seen kids, I believe the age of 12 and up, 100% increase in their use. I mean, it just creates a lot of problems. It probably is one of the most progressive, and it's going to cause problems for law enforcement. It's going to cause problems for the private sector, for the community in general.
You mentioned problems for law enforcement. What kind of problems do you think, as law officials, will this cause for you?
Perhaps one of the biggest problems is identifying the impaired drivers. It's so much different than a DWI encounter, where you can smell the alcohol. You might see a little bit more obvious signs of impairment, where somebody under the influence of marijuana, you might still have the smell in or around the vehicle or the person, but the ability to detect their impairment is going to be a little bit more difficult. You have to rely on drug recognition experts, DREs, which are very expensive to train. It's quite a process to get them through that. Other than that, you have to trust your standard field sobriety test type of evaluation, and oftentimes have to look to get blood from somebody just to see if it has it in their system. So just a lot of challenges in general with that compared to what we deal with normally with DWI arrests.
How are you seeing that, like, as continuing as law enforcement officials? Obviously, you're constantly dealing with this on a daily basis. How right now are you able to figure out if someone is impaired with marijuana?
Well, again, primarily through the use of drug recognition experts. Through their testing, they can tell you what drugs a person is on. What we see is typically a mix, where it's marijuana and other drugs mixed in with it. That seems to be the most common trend that we're seeing. Something else that needs to be understood too is this is a cash majority business, and in Denver alone, you're 200 times more likely to suffer a attack with a aggravated assault within 1,000 feet of a dispensary than anywhere else in the city. So we know that moving forward, that not only are we going to have challenges on our roadways, we're also going to have challenges keeping our citizens safe in and around dispensaries. We're also going to have challenges keeping this out of the hands of people under the age of 21 when it's legal to possess by persons over 21 and it's readily available. It's going to cause a lot of challenges for us in our schools and on our roadways and in the areas immediately surrounding the dispensaries when they come.
Yeah, and it seems that this new law, which is the official name, Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, so you have those two keywords, regulation and taxation. Going back to that taxation, you know, a lot of people who supported this bill said, hey, we're going to bring a lot of money to the state, billions and billions of dollars. Will any local counties, how will we see that?
Whoever sells the marijuana, their municipality will get 3%, the counties will get 1%, the state gets 9%, and that's what will equate to their $350 million. But it's really going to be pennies for the issues it's going to cause. It's going to cause serious social issues for our departments and social services and so forth, and the money's not going to be there to fund that. They claim they're going to use 40% for education. I believe there's 20% earmarked for future rehab and so forth, but I think that may be a long time coming, and I think it's going to take a period of time to see the types of problems it's caused.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the other thing that we're going to see that's not really set forth and not addressed well in the new law is a burgeoning black market. The law has set forth that you can transfer or give away marijuana up to 3 ounces, which creates a situation where traditionally, if you give drugs to somebody, it's a sale. They've taken that away in the marijuana world, and so I think what we're going to end up seeing here is that creates a window for a black market that's going to be certainly going to be utilized by a criminal element, and it'll be a way to end run those tax benefits that they're talking about and create a situation where people, if they can pay $10 less, because they can go buy from the black market, they're going to. So we're going to see a dramatic increase in black market marijuana sales. The market, the folks that are selling it now won't change. They'll just be selling less than 3 ounces, and they'll find a more creative way to do it and avoid those taxes, avoid the benefit that's associated with this law, at least the selling point.
When we see a picture of the marijuana market maybe in this area, what are you seeing on the law front day to day when it comes to the influx of marijuana? You know, just in general, is there something specific, you know, just an overview of what you're seeing?
Well, the marijuana we see today is much different than the marijuana of 20 years ago. It's much more potent. It's much more, it has much higher levels of THC in it. The other issue that I see with this law is most of the states prohibit smoking to home use. The New York State law makes it open in public so that any place where you can smoke tobacco, you can smoke marijuana, whether that's except for schools and places like that. I see that as a big issue, quality of life issue, where we're going to get a lot of complaints about smelling it in households and having it from the neighbors. I think there's going to be a lot of issues in workplaces where if you can smoke marijuana publicly, it's going to affect that workplace. So there's just so many things that this is beyond what any other state has done, but also there are many issues that have not been contemplated that we haven't come across. The tax issue is something that the county executive can probably help me out with this, but I haven't heard yet how it affects the tax cap if you opt out.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So there's so many unresolved or unanswered questions, which seems to be a hallmark of what we're seeing out of Albany recently.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, is there any positives to this new law?
In mine, no, there's absolutely not. In real terms, for the low-level marijuana user, we have been, as a function of law enforcement across the state, using diversion programs and treating those as non-criminal offenses. The only people who are being charged, at least primarily in Steuben County, are folks who are dealing large quantities of marijuana that would still be committing felonies under these acts, or who are selling it to underage people. So I don't really see any positive coming from this. The folks who are who have not been who would now be possessing legal marijuana haven't been being charged with or convicted of crimes for this, as has been the hue and cry for justification associated with this. I am concerned that the black market situation we're going to see will avoid the tax revenues we've talked about, and even our own governor said this is a gateway drug to other harder drugs down the road, and we're seeing overdoses still continue on a very regular basis in our communities. And if you talk to the people who are addicted to those drugs, most of them say they started with something softer like marijuana. So the idea that there's anything really positive that comes from this, I have a very hard time finding it.
So you just mentioned, which was interesting, because one of the key points of the law was expelling some of the, the penalties that some people were facing that were arrested with maybe just a little bit of marijuana. So you're actually not seeing that then. You're seeing it's really more people with large quantities.
That's the idea that someone possessing a small marijuana was being prosecuted, branded for life as a felon or a criminal is simply fallacious. That was not happening anywhere in New York State, to my knowledge, and I communicate with DAs from across the state on a regular basis. The unlawful possession of marijuana charges are being largely not prosecuted or dealt through some kind of a diversion program, some kind of drug education situation, or community service or dismissed. So the idea that small quantity dealers were being treated as felons is simply not true. That's a fallacious basis for the law.
It was interesting when I was reading an article coming out of Albany, our sister station in Albany, where I believe one of your colleagues, Craig Apple, was discussing a beta form to understand if people were impaired. He said it's very, it's very lucid. It's hard to kind of figure out right now. But from what I understand, the state health department is going to help to educate law officials on that. And I'm guessing you haven't heard anything from the state as of yet.
That would be no. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Zach, if I could go back to a point that D.A. Baker made, and I think it's a very important one because it often is the focus of debate, and it's whether or not marijuana is actually a gateway drug. I spent a good portion of my career as an investigator, and oftentimes when you were interviewing somebody, the purpose behind their committing a crime was to support a drug habit. Most people had a heroin, methamphetamine addiction, cocaine, whatever. When you interview these people, you always get the backstory when you're talking to them in the course of building a rapport. I don't recall one time where I interviewed somebody, they did not say that they first started with marijuana. You don't see a heroin addict saying, yeah, I just started out shooting up heroin or snorting coke or smoking meth or doing whatever I was doing. They always start out with those smaller drugs. Does it mean that every person that smokes marijuana is going to progress into a harder drug? Of course it doesn't. There's a lot of people that don't go beyond that. But there is certainly a strong argument to say that anybody that is doing those harder drugs first started out with marijuana or similar type of drugs with that. So I think that's a huge social issue. And you introduce this as a legal thing. The younger kids see that. I just think it's going to attract them to it. You're going to see a lot more people using it that you would hope that wouldn't.
Yeah, you mentioned younger kids. What kind of message do you think this sends to the younger generation?
Bad message.
A bad message that it's okay to use.
And I think that's something that it's being pushed through social media. It's being pushed through big marijuana. It's been pushed to justify this law. Is that this stuff that marijuana is somehow safe, that it is different than hard drugs, and it's particularly true in impaired driving. You know, for the last 20, I've been involved in this for 27 years as a DWI prosecutor and as a prosecutor, and the culture over drinking and driving has changed. Just don't, what was acceptable 25 years ago isn't acceptable now. Folks recognize it's unsafe to drink, even with a little bit of a buzz on and drive your car. That's different with marijuana. We're hearing this push that marijuana drivers are safe, that you can drive while you're high, and that's absolutely not true. This is a substance that hits a whole bunch of different drug categories and impairs mental facilities and physical facilities in ways that are different and aren't as measured and understood. And we're going to have to start that whole cultural education process all over again with marijuana driving, because previously it was simply illegal. Now it's a legal substance, and people are telling our kids that it's safe to drive on marijuana when that is absolutely not true.
So what kind of message should we send to our kids, obviously?
The message is that this is a drug. I mean, that's what, and just like alcohol or tobacco, it has terrible long-term consequences for you. If it's going to be legal, then use in moderation is the only way to use it. But it certainly has no place in our high schools. It has no place with our children. It is unsafe. It can impair you, and the same bad things that can happen if you use alcohol in excess can happen if you use marijuana in excess. And again, it's got, we don't even know what the message ought to be at this point because we haven't had enough experience with it.
If I can piggyback on what Sheriff Schramm said about his interviews, the other thing that comes up frequently is marijuana is initially used as a self-medication in reaction to an undiagnosed or untreated mental health disorder, that many people use marijuana to help them get through the day. And it's a reflection not only on our lack of services for folks that need mental health care, but also that leads it into that gateway that he talked about, that as that self-medication doesn't continue to be effective, then we move on to other things to try and handle the depression or the schizophrenia or whatever it is that we're trying to tackle through this self-medication.
Yeah,
we see that an awful lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting point there, because mental health is a major issue that we are facing in this nation. Ms. Fontaine, do you have anything to share specifically about this?
The only thing I would say that comes up is that makes me disappointed, being that I'm a black person, and in our black community we hear a lot about being incarcerated at higher rates due to small amounts of marijuana. But the message that it sends to me when you legalize it is say we're going to modify the law to accommodate your poor behavior, because a lot of the incarceration from what I see does not come from marijuana being illegal, or not being legal. It's the fact that it was illegal. And so therefore, if you choose to engage in an illegal behavior, then there are consequences that come with that. And I'm disappointed that we would create laws to justify that behavior, because I think that's exactly the message that sends to our children.
Yeah, that's a very good point there.
That's a great point.
And on that note, I believe that we have a wonderful poll that we want you to take a part of. If you're doing that, if you're following us on our social media, you can join our discussion on Instagram at WETM18 News and vote in our live poll. It's happening now. Click on our story and vote now whether you agree with the legalization of marijuana in New York State. And of course, we will bring you the live results throughout this newscast. But of course, we have more coming up in just a bit. Keep it here.